So this week, Mike and I played through Unpacking. So we had our hands full this week as we delved into the chill unpacking simulator, Unpacking. So this dropped on Xbox Game Pass. So I played it on PC. Where did you play it, Mike?
Xbox Game Pass as well, but it is available on PC as well. And I do believe it's also out on Switch.
Yep. Yeah,
And
and
of
I think
course,
it's on
all
other
the
things as well. Like I didn't
other
really
things. But look,
realize
it's
you were
mainly
going to
Xbox.
say
And
that.
I don't think it's on PlayStation as far as I'm aware.
Oh, it's not.
It's in our run sheet.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
it is in our run sheet.
No,
There it is.
so you played on
PC,
Series X?
but I played. So I played it on both. No, I actually played it on Xbox One, and I played it on PC as well. I played it on both because I wanted to see what it's like with the mouse. So I played it through the whole thing with the mouse, and then I wanted to see what it's like with a controller to see if I've missed anything through the game. So I played it with the game being synced between the two, of course. But I started a new game on Xbox, so I played it on both.
Well, I'm confused now. I thought you had a Series X.
I do, but I have an Xbox One X in my bedroom where I played it.
So Indigo, when we're not, we'll get to Forza in a moment. That's why I'm like clarifying, Mike. Did you play Forza on Series X?
That one I played on Series X.
No, but
yes.
that's why I asked because I knew he had
yeah.
both set up.
No,
so
I played this
Okay.
on. I mean, look, this isn't a game that needs
No.
the full power of the Series X. To be honest, I think it ran perfectly fine, even on any PC that you throw at it, probably. But yeah, it is across multiple platforms. I am actually, to be honest, extremely tempted, and I think I will buy it on Switch and pay full price. I'm not going to wait till it goes on special, purely because, and I think it's really important to note this. It's by an Australian developer called Witchbeam, based in Brisbane. So I think it's worth, paying these guys out to keep making cool stuff like this, basically.
Pay him out. That's right.
I feel bad that I played it for free. That's how good the game is to me. I really enjoyed it, and we'll talk about it in more detail, but I feel like now I need to go out and actually give them some of my hard-earned cash properly,
Well,
not through
that's
some
very
Xbox
nice of
Live
you,
thing.
Mike. I think Microsoft's done a good trick on the whole world when people call Game Pass free. Right?
Well, it's
they
not. Okay,
will
it's
get
not,
paid for that, so they will
it's
get
not
money.
free. Yeah,
Yeah.
they will get money, but I mean, Game Pass $50 per year, basically the way I got it. So, I feel like these guys deserve more money,
Totally agree.
so they can
And
keep making cool games.
we're huge supporters of the Aussie gaming industry, and it's very exciting to see that this game, when it released on Steam, it went to number 3 on the Steam chart, like best selling. That is incredible when you think about how many people buy games on Steam. So a huge success. Maybe like of the order of something even like an Untitled Goose Game, which is pretty incredible when you think about Australian dev recently. And it's probably exactly what you want to do, right? Not try to aim for a AAA type game, find a niche that you can really execute perfectly. And, just jumping into the review, like I thought this game, for what it's trying to do, is perfect. Like it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Wow. Sorry, you can make the dude dab. I just noticed that in the trailer. Anyway, sorry.
You just Swinny's watching the B-roll.
Yeah.
Because you haven't played this at all, right, Swinny?
Yes, I have. I've played this.
Oh, okay. Have you finished it?
I was just letting you assume that I hadn't played it and just roll with it.
I was going to ask after the mic went through. Have you finished it, Swinny?
No. Well, I'll talk a bit about it when you finish. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off badly in that. Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's very zen. It's just very chilled. And it's just one of those games where, it's very accessible, right? I even had my son who's 4. He was playing it. Like, he was literally like clicking the box, dragging it to stuff. Like, you could actually like cognitively recognize, okay, this has to go there and that has to go there. I was like, this is so cool.
Does he keep his own room clean?
Yeah, no, he's pretty good with that stuff.
Okay, I was going to say, because you could like almost like use this to train your kids to like put stuff away.
And it's very like OCD inducing. So I'll throw to Mike first, and then we'll go round out with Swinny on the OCD element of it. Mike,
The OCD element, by the way, for those that are watching, I've got Spludge, my cat here. He decided to open the door and come into my room, so a very slight distraction. I think, I don't want to be one of those people that self-diagnoses, but I have a feeling I do have OCD. I do like my things in a neat, orderly fashion. And this game is perfect for people that do have OCD, that need to put everything right, put them in the right order, etc. The interesting thing, though, is I was doing that at the start. I was putting things neatly. I was making sure the underwear is actually, because you can rotate objects.
Mm.
I was making sure the underwear is rotated the correct way, so all of the underwear is in exactly the right way, and there's some sort of a color gradient happening, that kind of jazz. Uh, but I found after sort of halfway through the game, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna shove them in there. Whatever, they'll do the
It's
trick.
like real life.
Like just like real life, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what happens in real life. I have my underwear perfectly neat and my t-shirts just folded in this awesome Japanese way of doing it. You like do it in 2 seconds, and
But that only
yeah,
works
after a
on a
while,
G-string though.
well, I do have a few of those, so yes. Anyway, so it's it's definitely
And then the
fantastic
cat
from
goes right.
it's definitely fantastic from an OCD perspective.
Yeah. Well, I don't know
Uh,
if that's true. I feel like
you reckon
it's like an alcoholic, and this game really encourages
No,
drinking.
but
it's
it's
fantastic for an
very
alcoholic.
no. It's just it kind of like that actually, but I think in a good way. It's therapeutic. I found it, as you said, it's very zen-like. It's very therapeutic. The music is quite cool. It's 8-bitty sort of music. Well, I think it was probably more like 16-bit kind of music, but um and perfect for the feel of it, especially because you start off in the 90s and you sort of progress through the eras. And that music just also helps with the chillness of the game, and you're just sitting there opening a box, putting something there, opening a box, putting something up there. And the gameplay loop just feels really really good. I don't know, do you want to no spoilers of course, but do you want to quickly talk about the story element?
Well, probably not, right? Because I don't want to spoil it for
No,
people.
without spoiling it. So the only thing I'd say, because again, I don't want to
I'm like,
spoil any
no, and then he
anything about. No,
proceeds
no.
to.
I think it's worth noting the fact that the game doesn't tell a story in a conventional way, and I think this is really cool about it. So there's no cutscenes, there's nothing like that. The only way you understand the story is through the world that you're presented with, as well as the objects that you're unpacking and what you do with them and where you put them, etc. And I don't want to say anything else because it's worth going through the story to understand the progression of that person's life. And it's actually quite cool because I think it does also make you think about your own life to a large extent. It sounds maybe weird. Oh, this is so deep, but it kind of is. It really does make you think about what is it like when you go from being a kid. Do you still have the toys that you've kept since then? You know, it's stuff like that. That's what were you going to say, Swanee?
I was just gonna say, yeah, exactly that. It's like when you realize, okay, the next stage is further along in that person's life, then I'm like, wait, I've still got stuff that I've had since I was a kid, and it's very self-reflective in that way. It's like it kind of makes you stop and think. While I know, that the whole possessions versus, minimalism and stuff, but it's like there are possessions we have that are so emotionally linked to our life that we carry them with us. So it's really interesting to see, like, it's such a unique, as you said, way to tell a story.
And
I'm sure it's further in that, but anyway. So
just to add to that, Swinny, because there's one moment in the game. I don't know actually if you got up to it, depending on how much you played. I'll throw it back to you in a second, but and I won't ruin the story or anything, but it's effectively there's an item that there's just no room to put it anywhere.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And it's
about.
like,
Yeah, I don't want to say what
yeah.
it is, but there is. It's fantastic. I love that bit.
And you're playing it, and it's like it actually got me, man. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, like I understand that feeling myself of like because out of the three of us, I've probably maybe moved the most. I don't know, maybe you're about equal to me, Mike, but we've both moved a lot. So you go through these different phases when you move to places. You're like, oh, I'm gonna do it differently. I'm gonna go cleaner or minimalist, and the game explores that as well. But just that feeling of like something that you may be really proud of. It's almost like you're packing it away, and what does that mean, and what does that say about your psychology and everything. So there's some really cool moments in the game like that. Really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, I want to see. So you played it a little bit, Swinny. You didn't have enough time, thoughts, or what happened?
So, unfortunately, this week I spent I didn't talk about it earlier, but I spent a lot of time watching Let's Plays of Dark Souls, and I spent way longer watching that stuff than playing games, but I did get through the first couple of levels in Unpacking, so I definitely didn't kind of get too far along with that. But one part that I really loved, it's such a unique game, but just when you first start opening boxes and they give you multiple rooms, and you're like, wait, why is there this is a box with the kitchen stuff? Why is there a keyboard in here? And then you're like, wait, but that's what happens when you move stuff. It's like randomly something doesn't fit, and then you're like, well, where is that thing? And it's just even that tiny thing is just such a cool little moment. I really, really had a lot of fun with it, but I also think the time I was playing it, like when I got to like a level, I'm like, okay, now you've got like 5 rooms or something, and I'm like, I just felt like it wasn't the right kind of game to play at that moment, because I'm just like, I think you have to, not to say you know, for everyone, but for me, I'm like, I think I have to probably be in a bit of a different mindset to go further than that at the time. Just because at that point it's like, well, oh, now it's actually a very substantial task. It's not like just 3 rooms, like there's lots of boxes, and then it's like, okay. But I think it's such a great little game, honestly. I think it's such a cool experience so far. So
Yeah, I totally agree. And just on the story, you don't know this conversation that Mike and I had, Sweeney, but I gave Mike a call maybe like 10 minutes into playing the game, and I'm like, damn, dude, I know exactly what's gonna happen in this game. I laid it all out. I'm like, this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna do this, and then that's gonna happen. And I was like, man, I'm bloody smart, right? And then I played through the game. I'm like, whoops, I was wrong. Now, like, there's some twists in it that like I kind of was expecting, but maybe I was even more extreme than the twists that they had in the game. But no, really cool. I wanted to shout out just the last couple of things from me, just from an accessibility perspective. Like, I'm always a big fan of when games go pretty deep on accessibility, especially when you're just bringing people in. It's not ruining the game or anything like that. So they have some really cool options. Like, you know, they're very mindful of, you know, a lot of video games will have cues, like audio cues or visual cues. So they're like, they've been really thoughtful about how that interaction works, so that if you can't hear, it's like you will not miss out on something in the game, or vice versa. And then also they've got settings in the game, which, you know, once you complete a room, the game assesses it and says, oh, well, no, you've got the toaster in the bath. That doesn't work, right? You can actually switch all that off. You can actually just say, place things anywhere you want, right? So you can get through the story and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to give them a shout out with that. The one thing, and, you know, like, I think the devs are really cool. I actually reached out to Ren Breyer, who's one of the devs on the game. And she wrote back to us. And this is a weird thing to say, but how do I say this without spoiling any of the story? But essentially, there's an element of the game, and especially being a dad now, that, you know, the game explores. And I'm like, oh, I don't think that's a really safe thing for the game to allow you to do, right? So I wrote
the toaster in the bathtub.
No, not, yeah, it's similar to that, but it's about, you know, my newfound gamer dad perspective. So I reached out to her, and she actually wrote back, like, it seemed like they really did think about it. You know, like, should they do that or not, and why, and all this other kind of stuff. I still don't agree with where they landed on it. And I spoke to some other parents about it, actually. I'm like, am I crazy about this? And they go, no, I totally understand what you're saying, right?
I want to know what this is now. I might have to.
Yeah, we'll talk offline, because I don't want to spoil it for people.
Nah,
but
yeah.
I just want to give a shout out. Like, how cool are these people, right? Like, they've got really a game that's like blowing up, and they're like responding to the smallest podcast in the universe.
There's just one last thing I wanted to mention, and it's kind of linked to accessibility as well, is that I think this would be a fantastic game for people that are neurodivergent, that have like that really I guess appreciate routine and have, you know, compulsive behavior we mentioned before, just because the nature of picking stuff up and putting it away. Like I have family members that work in that field, and that is very much something I think that, you know, I'm actually going to tell them and say, hey, if they are, you know, they like video games, there's this game that has a lot of accessibility options, but has that routine, has that feeling of, okay, I'm putting stuff somewhere. So I think it's potentially a really great game for people like that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, a huge recommendation from all of us, I think.
Really big, yeah.
Very short experience, so it's not, you know, something scary in terms of jumping in. And I think it's, you know, obviously a studio will be looking out for. It'd be interesting even if they tried to do DLC for the game as well.
Well, I was actually thinking, because to me, one of the only real disappointing thing about the game, honestly, is it felt short.
But
I'm with you. I don't want things to keep dragging on. But for this, I actually genuinely felt I just wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted more things. I wanted more of the story. I wanted to, you know, kind of. I'm not again. I don't want to. I don't want to say where the story ends or anything like that. It's not like there's a big plot twist, but I'm like, I want to see more and more and more. And I think I can see how they could expand it to actually go through the entire life of that person, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
could totally see it, and I'm hoping that they do, because that's probably my only real gripe with the game. It felt a little short, and that also maybe goes to extends to the fact that there's these stickers you can collect. And look, we've spoiled the entire toaster in the bathtub thing, but basically, if you do certain things with certain objects, you get stickers that come up.
Mm.
And the one that we've just spoiled is if you take the toaster in any of the games where there's a toaster available, it's a bathtub, you put it in there.
It was in the footage that was showing before.
Yeah, and it was in the
so
footage as well, so it's
yeah.
not spoiling too much. But they're kind of achievements within the game itself. So I 100% at the game, and honestly, what felt like 2 hours or something.
Mm.
It felt extremely
That's
short in
quick.
that sense, and I was just craving more for once. Normally, I'm like, oh my god, this game is dragging on, but this time I just wanted more.
You could always pack all your stuff up in a box and then put it all back again.
Which is what I did, because my parents are moving, so I went and helped them pack. And by the way, this is freaking horrible, and it's on the topic. I realize what a shit son I am, because I think I have about 30 or 40 big storage boxes at their place, like proper, you know, 60, 70 liter boxes. Yeah, full of my shit. I reckon there's got to be, I'll count them next time, but there's got to be at least 30.
That's a lot, dude.
Oh, it's insane. It's all,
You gotta
it's
move
stuff like
on, man.
books. No, it's all stuff that are like, I don't know, you know, things like collectors, statues, collector's editions of games, you know, random trash like that, which really is just. And by the way, this is the last thing I'll say about this game as well, because we touched on the topic that it's what I love about it is that it's a very self-reflective game. It's a game that actually really makes you think about your own life and your own experiences in life, moving through life, and the things that you hold dear. And it definitely has made me all, you know, realized again that I just have too much stuff. And in the game, it's the same. I'm playing the game and I'm like, do you really need this thing? Why do you keep taking this thing with you?
We're running long, but I would want to explore this more. Hey,
Yeah,
quick shout out
some other
to
time.
caller Ben, who's in the Twitch chat.
Hey, Ben.
Yeah, let's jump to the last impressions, but maybe we'll keep it a bit short because we will be reviewing this game next week, Mike.